Nikola Jokic is such an intriguing NBA, quote, superstar, because I think outside of Denver, there's a lot of fans that really never watch Jokic nor ever really appreciate what he does. And I think as a two-time MVP, that conversation that happened this year, that do you give him a third consecutive MVP? He's not that great. He's not an all-time great. Kind of suggested where he is in the pecking order. That even the most ardent basketball fans appreciate what he does, marvel at the stats that he puts up, but he doesn't feel like an all-time great. And all of that would change with a championship this year. That being said, all of that, I think the Denver Nuggets are actually really good for the NBA. The Nuggets are not a recognizable brand. They're not the Knicks or the Bulls, the Lakers, the Celtics. They're not the Warriors. They don't have that type of cachet. And even if they won a championship this year, they still wouldn't have that. But what the Nuggets can do this year, and it's kind of a shame that their identity with their jerseys is so all over the place, that they've done the Lego City back in the 80s, and then the 90s they went to that maroon and dark blue, the Mutombo years. And then they went into the UCLA glossy years, the light blue, powder blue, and yellow with Carmelo Anthony. Now they're into these. It's too bad that there's no kind of like through line of identity for the Nuggets look, because I feel like nobody has any reference point to old Nuggets teams. Does that look anything like the Carmelo teams? That's not that long ago, you know? That's like 15 years ago. It's not that long ago. But I think they're really good because the Nuggets give every fan hope that you don't have to be the Lakers, the Celtics, to win a championship. This idea that the talent in the NBA always goes to the coasts, or that the talent of the NBA always goes to the massive markets and big brand appeal, and that there's only a handful of teams that could ever win a championship because that's the only thing that's ever happened in NBA history, would be blown up quite a bit if the Denver Nuggets win, much the same way when the Bucks won their title a couple of years ago. And this would be a really good, brave new world for the NBA to be in. I know there's plenty of sports fans that I'm familiar with, either listeners of the show over the years or friends of mine, family of mine, that just couldn't get into the NBA because they said the same teams always win it. It's the Lakers, it's the Celtics, it's the Bulls, it's the Spurs, it's the Heat. It's the same teams all the time. And that you just don't have your random Hornets championship, your random Pacers championship. You just don't have those things that happen. And so it's hard unless you glom onto the Warriors, the Lakers, that you'll ever see a winner. Well, first of all, the Nuggets have never won a championship. They've never even been to the NBA Finals. So even to get there gives fans across the country hope. But secondly, look how they were built. This was not a tank job to get a number one pick overall. This was not lose a bunch of years in a row. This was not you happen to be really bad and have a lottery pick with a generational talent. This starts with Jokic. And who could have ever known that Jokic was going to be this great? He was a second-round pick. Second-round picks contracts are oftentimes not even guaranteed. He was the 41st pick overall. No matter who you root for, you'll have a 41st pick. Your front office has to land on this, but this happened. Jokic happened. And Jokic didn't blow people's hair back because he could jump really high. He played above the rim. He was a big man that could run down floor like a guard. He wasn't a sharp shooter. He didn't look anything like our number one, number two, number three picks. But boy, did he develop into something special. So you start with that. That's very doable. Everybody's got a second-round pick. Multiple teams have multiple second-round picks. They're usually throwaways. You start with that. The second part is look at the rest of the team around him. Again, you don't have to stumble upon generational talent with a top 3 pick, nor do you need to get the best free agent every single year. Jamal Murray was a high pick, but he was the 7th overall pick. Caldwell Pope has been a bit of a journeyman. He's bounced around. He was just a savvy free agent move by the Nuggets. Aaron Gordon was a bit of a swing for the fences. I don't know if Michael Porter has ever really lived up to the billing. But again, none of these pieces are, they had to get that lucky. Or, they had to collect all the talent as free agents. Or, that would never happen in my city. Your team could definitely draft the 41st player overall and have 1 or 2 top 10 picks that are really good but not great, and you develop them. And this is not impossible to replicate. Also, they've kept the team together. Through the injuries to Jamal Murray and the 2 early exits the last 2 years, they stayed the course. They haven't fired the coach and rehired a different coach. They haven't changed styles. They haven't gotten impatient. They kept it all together. They made very savvy moves. And in a Western Conference where we always talk about the Lakers and the Warriors and the Lakers, they didn't go out and try to get Kevin Durant. They didn't try to get Kyrie Irving. They didn't swing for the fences on something that could have blown up in their face. They stayed the course. This is very much like the Bucks. Very much. Now, the Bucks, they took a chance on Giannis, and they hit the lottery. But having Chris Middleton, acquiring Drew Holiday, the rest of that cast of characters, it's not like you could replicate that. You've got to get really lucky on Giannis. You've got to get really lucky on Jokic. But it's not like you'll never be in position to do so. So I think the Nuggets could be really good for the NBA. I'll tell you this, the ratings are going to be dog poop for the NBA Finals if it's the Nuggets. Nuggets Heat, forget it. Nobody's going to watch. The NBA wants Lakers Celtics. You know all the reasons why. The Nuggets will not rate. They are not a team that the casual fan knows anything about. Nobody is enamored with Nikola Jokic outside of hardcore basketball fans. It's just not a team that anybody sees on national TV a lot. They don't have a big brand, all these things. But they're great for the NBA fan because they're fun to watch. They have a great style of basketball. And who doesn't love a story like Jokic where you're a second-round pick, the 41st pick overall, and turn into this? And they stayed the course. They kept it together, and they're being rewarded for it. So I think they're a great story, and I think you should too. Depending on how far they go, we'll see if they can finally close this thing out and get to an NBA Finals. They're 3 wins away now, something they have never done.